It's also interesting. Maybe it was Jeremy Fowler or Pelissero. I don't remember who reported this, that Ben Johnson already kind of has his eye on somebody as a potential offensive coordinator in Hank Fraley. This is the kind of guy you want to be a tone setter for your organization. Undrafted free agent that played, I want to say 10 years, was a starter for like 8 years. Undrafted free agent out of Robert Morris. It was actually teammates with B. Mitch on those Eagles teams when B got to Philly.
I got fired up listening to B. Mitch talk about Hank Fraley.
Yeah.
B. Mitch said he's one of those guys that if you don't get in line, he's not going to take anything from anybody. And, you know, that's the type of influx of leadership that this team as a whole needs, and a grit that this team needs.
Well, and if you think about Ben Johnson, you know, the concepts are what people love, right? And more than that, I thought, who was it? It was Tim Hasselbeck. Tim Hasselbeck was on Van Pelt after the divisional round on Sunday, and they did a segment. I kind of think it's because SVP is once upon a time a Washington fan. They did a whole segment on Ben Johnson, and Hasselbeck explained, like, listen, the concepts are awesome. There's a lot of stuff you like from a schematic point, but there's also just some guys that have a knack for when to call the right play, and he's got it. I loved they had a 3rd and short in that divisional game against Tampa. They had a 3rd and short. They overloaded the right side. The whole world thought they were just going to run it right. They ran the boot, but to the backup tight end that was on the line. Like, it was extreme misdirect. There's just a lot to like, and some of that, I think, with Turner and with Bieniemy, I mean, they had good plays. They got guys open, but it was like the sequencing that never really got all the way there. And I think if you watch enough Detroit, you like the sequencing.
Well, and certainly some of the stuff that we complained about with Bieniemy and the Commanders' offense, 3rd and short, they go empty backfield, or they line up Terry McLaurin in a three-point stance behind the running back, whatever weird stuff they were doing.
That one really bothered you.
It really bothered me. I mean, it bothers me when I see Devonta Smith jumping in behind Jalen Hurts when he's doing the tush push. Like, just run smart plays. You don't need the smallest player trying to push your quarterback. You don't need to line up your best offensive player in a 3-point stance in the backfield when he's never done that. What I like is that you see Ben Johnson go under center, 3rd and short. He'll scheme up a between the tackles run, or a play action, or a boot, or something out of that keeps the defense on its toes. And things like that are we've missed here in DC, some of the basics of offense.
Yeah, and you can't watch the Lions. They run the ball really well. I mean, I've said this a billion times, but everybody talks about Kyle and McVay, and that's what you're trying to find. All Kyle and Sean want to do is run the ball. All they want to do is run the ball 100 times down your throat. And, like, you build the pass game off that. I can't wait to see what Brian Robinson might do more functioning offense. Yeah, in an offense that runs the ball, in an offense that isn't dead last in rushing attempts, right? Like, there was just no balance whatsoever. Any DCs? There was a brief moment in time where I thought they could get Fangio. It sure seems like Fangio is going to go to Philly, and I think that's a family thing. I think his family's from PA or something. That's the kind of dude that I think would be perfect. Track record's kind of there, but maybe it'll be somebody else. I don't really have a name for you.
There was a period we were discussing DCs, and I was talking about if you bring in a first-time head coach, I wanted an experienced defensive coordinator to pair with him to kind of help out a little bit with the head coach. If you think Ben Johnson is the guy and he's your head coach, go get the best DC possible out there. Whether it's a young guy, like if you're able to get Chris Harris, or heck, if you're able to lure Anthony Weaver over as your defensive coordinator, you know, who knows what's happening there. You know, go get the best guy out there. You don't have to get a guy who's going to support Ben Johnson and be a veteran guy who's been there, done that before. Because you look at some of the young head coaches, you know, I was just looking at the group from the Shanahan tree, you know, when they first got their jobs, basically Kevin O'Connell, Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay, all had older DCs come in with them, guys who had head coaching experience, and all 3 of them got rid of those guys within a year or 2 of being there because they were good in terms of being able to help those guys maybe in the head coaching roles, but they weren't doing great as defensive coordinators in and of themselves. And so to me, you want to bring in someone who's going to help Ben Johnson, but go get the best guy out there, whether he's young, old, retread, new guy, linebacker, DB coach, doesn't matter. Go get the best kid out there.
I think you're right. I think that is actually correct. I also want Johnson to make that hire.
Yes.
I think as much as I wanted them to get a GM to hire a coach, I now want the coach to be able to fill out his staff. Like just look at the organizations that work, do what they do. That's what they would do.